Years ago, I was a paramedic, was married. I was married for 13 years, had a couple small kids, and I suddenly found myself in trouble, big trouble. It was very, very hard on my wife and kids. You know, the kids were small, they didn't really truly know what was going on, but my wife had a lot of uncertainty ahead of her. The friends that we thought we had kind of just disappeared on us. And the friends that were kind of on the peripheral side of us started showing up. And I think that's kind of the beginning of a new story for not only myself, but my family. It was an interesting journey though, because through that time, for those that were showing up, they just started showing up at my door, asking me out for coffee. Didn't really show any agenda. And just started asking me questions, and through that process, I gave my life to Christ. That was just before I went into prison. I remember showing up for court, kind of just like it was an everyday thing. I showed up and sit in a room, and they call my name, and they sentenced me. And the moment they sentenced me, the handcuffs go on, boom. And you're shackled to 10 other guys. And from right there, then on, in this journey, it was made well known to me who I was. I was a convict. I was less than. All my rights were terminated. And a new number was given to me, a number that I still carry with me to some degree today. That number is 276261. That's my prison ID number. Probably will forever ingrained in my head, because really my name was taken away and a number was given to me. I didn't know how to do prison. Nobody taught me how to do prison. No one coached me. And so I just had to kind of, from day one, just be hyper vigilant. There wasn't a week that didn't go by in my unit that I was in where there wasn't some type of fight that went on, some physical altercation. And you could just hear the pushing, the shoving, the shouting. Afterwards, there'd be blood on the floor. You know, we had pool tables in the day room there, and a thing inside prison is take a cue ball and put it in a sock and swing it around and hit somebody with it. And you know, you'd get outside for, you know, between meals and going out, you know, you had a half an hour, you'd have your meal, and half the time they wouldn't allow you to finish it because the officer would go down the hallway, okay, this row's done, this row's done, this row's done, and you wouldn't even have time to finish your meal. It's just not a healthy way to live. If I could really think back and put one word to prison, even though you're in a very crowded place, it's a lonely place. You know, I had left my wife and kids at home. And when I came in, I vowed to my wife that I would not come home the same man that I went in as. And I didn't know what that meant, but I knew I had to learn to do things differently. And it became very clear that the prison system, you know, they weren't going to do the change. I had to do the change. And what's interesting is I learned that from my fellow person who was incarcerated with me, but I also learned it from the outside church. Most of the folks that are incarcerated receive very little outside communication. I was 6 hours from home, and the majority of the folks that were incarcerated with me, it was the same. So we just very rarely got a visit. We couldn't call because it was too expensive. So letter writing was it, but many of the folks that were incarcerated with me didn't really get any letters. It was rare that somebody in my cube would get a letter. And then so when I started doing Crossroads, the lessons started showing up with the letters. And so with that, I started digging into my Bible and doing the lessons. Sometimes the Bible isn't always so easy to understand and put together. So as a new Christian, you know, the Crossroads mentors helped me understand what I was learning. From there, you know, it went into my heart. I often say it helped give me my foundation. I went to to base my decisions on. Help me to remember that I am remembered and that I am a new creation, that the old has passed, was life-changing for me. But the beautiful piece that went with the lessons was that letter that came with it. And that letter was just powerful. It's really like gold. And it always seemed to kind of be the right words at the right time. My cube mates weren't getting any other letters. They'd ask if they could read my letters. And of course, I'd give them to them. We have discussions about them. In fact, I kept a lot of the letters, but it really helped firm up my foundation. Through that journey, with Crossroads and the inside church, I kind of got out of the hole that I was in. My wife could see the change in me. So I really thank Crossroads for being there. I have the opportunity now to go out and speak on behalf of Crossroads as a former Crossroads student. I can never really put it into words when I'm speaking to the mentors about the impact that they are making. So often they say, well, I don't know if the words that I'm writing are the right words. And just want to reassure them. I'm always reassuring them that the words that you are writing are the right words for that day, for that person. Because we have to remember that the Holy Spirit is involved in all of this. In Hebrews 13, Paul tells us to remember the prisoner. But I look further at Matthew 25, where Jesus says, when you visit the prisoner, you visit me. Jesus didn't say that lightly, because what he's telling us, at least from my perspective, is that we need to show up at the prison. I mean, it's a mandate to show up. So I say, well, not only are we as the church supposed to meet the prisoner inside the prison, but the big benefit to that is that we get to meet Jesus there, and he changes our lives.